go, champ. It's the champ, Shannon the Cannon Briggs, and you're watching True School Sports. Let's go, champ.
Nigga. I told you, nigga. I told you, nigga. Until the day end, nigga, you go always on me, pussy.
The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, this is another recap from the Pro Box card. This guy really deserves his own video anytime he fights, because I truly feel like he is one of those guys that whenever he's on a boxing card, you have to pay attention because he's just so fun to watch. And this is a guy that I've been a fan of since he ever had a professional fight, since like back in early 2020 when I first seen him train down at the Warriors boxing gym. And that's Otar Eranosyan. You know, even when he trains, you can tell like just by how he trains that the dude is built just a little bit different than a lot of fighters in boxing, you know. So I've always classed him highly, and his pro career has definitely proven me to have a reason to class him highly. You know, I really do think he is the dark horse of the 130 division, and I do think he will be a world champion sooner rather than later. But, you know, as far as Otar is concerned, right? Otar Eranosyan, he was taking on Cesar Juarez, you know, and that's what I'm talking about, Otar Eranosyan. That's who this video is centered around. He was taking on the veteran Cesar Juarez. Now, I'm very familiar with Cesar Juarez. Anybody who's up in their boxing around these weight classes is familiar with him because this is a guy that's a, you know, 39-fight veteran. This is a guy that's been in there with like the who's who of, you know, 122 to like 126, 130-ish, you know. So with that being said, you know, I like Juarez because, you know, he probably faced the best version of Angelo Leo. Angelo Leo was the first guy to knock out Cesar Juarez back in 2019 on the Gervonta Davis Gamboa undercard. So I know a lot about him. Carlos Castro and TJ Doheny have both since stopped him. But this fight was interesting, and it was very intriguing for Juarez because, you know, he was fighting at a higher weight class, and he's really been a mainstay at, you know, 122, 126. That's what he's really more so known for, not being at 130. And being that Otar, I class him so highly, I was curious to see how Otar was going to look against a crafty veteran who is not, you know, necessarily fighting at his optimum weight class. Now, Otar fought this fight a little bit differently than we're accustomed to, because if you look at Otar, for those of you who have been following Otar Eranosyan, you know, particularly in his last two fights that have both been on Showbox, you know, against Alejandro Porkchop Guerrero and Starling Castillo, he's been a guy that spent the most of the time on the front foot, spent most of the time in the pocket. Yes, he shows some slickness, but he's more so a front foot dominant fighter with footwork that pressures guys and pushes them back and overwhelms them with volume and fights with a certain swagger and confidence that most fighters don't have. This fight with Juarez was a bit different because Juarez, I think Otar understood that Juarez was not only a smaller guy coming up in weight, but he was also a guy that, unlike Starling Castillo and Alejandro Guerrero, this wasn't his natural weight class. And it seemed like in this fight, particularly in the first 4 rounds, he worked on his boxing a lot more. He worked more so on his boxing, you know, a lot more back foot boxing, mixing it in with, you know, good defense in the pocket, and really hard, aggressive counters. And you know, it was a fight where he had a lot of success early, but then he started doing his normal thing where he likes to taunt the fighters and whatnot. And it kind of pissed off Cesar Juarez, and Juarez he picked up the intensity and started to make the fight a little bit more competitive. And I think Otar did a great job of handling that storm. You know, he showed good footwork, the ability to pivot around him, to make him miss in the pocket, to land hard, flush, aggressive counters. You know, I was a little disappointed with the commentary from Paulie Malignaggi. Just being honest, I love Paulie. I think he's a great commentator, but I just didn't like how he was saying in the commentary that, you know, Otar was abandoning the fundamentals, but he was still being effective. So, like, you can abandon things as a fighter and get away with it against certain guys. You just gotta understand the style and the assignment in front of you, and I feel like Otar did that. I think Otar did a great job landing good hard counters, landing the jab, you know, pivoting around him. You know, and there were a couple instances where Otar clinched Cesar Juarez, and he basically like threw him to the ground, which the second time he did that, he actually wound up losing a point, which I got a little bit worried because the way that commentators are talking, I thought maybe they were seeing something different ringside. But nonetheless, Otar gets the victory. You know, I think Cesar Juarez offered him some really, really good experience. And I think, listen, you look at his run of form, the last 3 wins, He beat Alejandro Porchop Guerrero, who was 12-1, a really good fighter for that stage of his career. Then he stepped it up against Starlin Castillo in a fight that a lot of people deemed to be, a pick'em fight, and he outclassed Starlin Castillo. Damn near won the whole fight, dropped him in the first round. This fight was a little bit tougher, but still a clear win for him. So 3 good wins on the bounce. You're looking at Otar as far as where he stacks up at the 130 division. Right now, I don't think he's not ranked in the WBC, nor is he ranked in the IBF, and nor is he ranked in the WBO. But he's highly, highly ranked in the WBA. And the champion there is now Hector Luis Garcia. So I'm going to say this. I don't think Hector Luis Garcia will fight Shakur Stevenson, nor do I think he'll fight Joe Cordina next. But I really do think this is a fight that should be looked into. I know Otar's fought on Showtime a lot, so I would be led to believe that would be an easy pathway to a world title shot for PBC. And I would love that fight. I mean, I'll tell you, I think if he fights Hector Luis Garcia, he's going to starch Hector Luis Garcia. He's going to beat him. I think he'll beat him. I just think Otar has, I wouldn't say he's a great puncher. He's not like a big puncher, but he's a respectable puncher. He's got elite footwork, elite amateur background, elite boxing skills, elite defense. He fights with a certain confidence and swagger that if you're not a composed person emotionally, will frustrate you. And he just knows how to grind you down, outwork you, and outbox you. And I think if I were him, Hector Luis Garcia would be good, because Hector Luis Garcia has shown himself to be a fighter that is a top fighter in this weight class. He's champion for a reason. He beat Chris Colbert as the B-side. He just beat up on Roger Gutierrez in relatively easy fashion. He's really represented hard for the Dominican boxing scene. But we already saw Otar beat up on one Dominican. I think if he fights Hector Luis Garcia, shout out to all my, hold on. Shout out to all my Dominican brethren. I got mad love for the deal. I'm part Dominican myself. I love the Dominican Republic, and I love what the fighters got going on right now. But if Otar Eranosyan fight Hector Luis Garcia, I'm going with Otar. I think Otar going to beat him. And I think Otar will beat a lot of these guys. I actually think this, and I thought this for since the first day I seen him train. Since the first day I seen him train before he made his pro debut, I thought Otar was a world-class creme de la creme fighter. I already thought he was one of the best fighters at 130 for a long time. And I think he's a tough out for anybody in this weight class. I don't care if we're talking about Joe Cordina. I think Shakur Stevenson's the best fighter in this weight class, but I think Otar could potentially be one of the tougher matchups out there for him. I think right now, that's the fight that I'm looking at, is potentially Hector Luis Garcia defending the belt, for his first defense against Otar Eranosyan. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if they do fight, if Hector Luis Garcia beats Otar Eranosyan, his next fight, I will really have to call Hector Luis Garcia an A-level fighter. I think he's a solid B+ fighter. I'm not quite grading him an A yet. I want to see him step up the competition a bit more. But if he beats Otar, then I'm classing him an A, because truthfully speaking, I was asked this question by a lot of people in the South Florida boxing community. Who do you think would have won between Otar and Chris Colbert? And I always thought Otar would have beat the shit out of Chris Colbert. So I would actually view Otar as his best win, honestly. So that's the fight I want to see next. Hector Luis Garcia versus Otar Eranosyan. There really is, to me, apart from like Shakur Stevenson versus Joe Cordina, there is no fight I want to see more in the 130 division than this fight right here. And now that he's ranked, now that he's got 3 quality wins on the spin, one against an undefeated fighter, one against a guy who only had 1 loss, but that was like a tough, prospect, fringe contender on the way up, like Otar was at the time. He's fighting good, game, determined, hungry guys, and he's shining bright like a diamond every single time. And I truthfully believe, Timur Abragamov, who's got a great stable of Uzbekistan fighters, I really feel like he's going to be the Eddie Futch of Uzbekistan, because he's got a great stable there. You got Otar Beck, who's another fighter at 122 you guys need to look out for. Otar Beck right now, as it stands, is ranked number 2 in the WBA, so he may be fighting for a world title sooner than you think. So I'm just saying, man, they got a great thing going down there in Hollywood at the Warriors boxing gym. And I gotta get there. I have to get there down more often, because it's one of the best gyms in the world. And all I wanted to say is, look, if Hector Luis Garcia fights Otar is beating him, and I have zero doubts about it. I'll even put money on it if it comes down to it. So leave your comments down below. Otar Eranosyan in position to fight for the WBA world title. He's number 3 right now. His ranking should move up after that win. So leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take time to subscribe. Who you think will win in that fight? And yeah, like I say in every single one of these videos, you guys can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care.
Just like Mayweather's uncles would say, a lot of people don't know shit about boxing. You know, you do. You've done it.
Thank you.
You about the only smart guy that I know, bro. Nobody knows shit about boxing.
I appreciate it, man.
I want to say, man, make sure to follow True School Sports, always covering boxing at the highest level, man, and make sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel. Follow him on Instagram at Just a Kid from Danny as well.
He the plug.